All right, welcome in everyone to the deep dive. We're doing something a little bit different today. We are, as always, taking a deep dive, but this time we're really going deeper than usual, I think.
Yeah, we're diving into a classic.
Yeah, we're going deep on Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People. And this book has been around since 1936. I mean, it's sold over 30 million copies.
It's huge. It's a behemoth. It's kind of crazy, really. Like, it just keeps going. It never stops.
Mm-hmm. Why is that? Why has this book had this staying power? I think that's what we're trying to get to the bottom of today.
Yeah, definitely. And I think for you, our listener, like, this is your shortcut. You don't have to go and read this whole massive book. We're going to condense it down to the essentials today, kind of give you the core principles.
Yeah, hopefully save you a little bit of time.
Exactly. And what's interesting about this book is that it's not just some theory that Dale Carnegie came up with in a vacuum. He actually taught these principles in self-improvement courses.
Yeah.
He was out there in the world observing how people interact and what actually worked for people. And he noticed this common thread, right?
Yeah.
That the ability to understand and work effectively with other people was the key, the secret sauce to success, both in your personal life and your career.
Yeah, and I think the other thing that's interesting about Carnegie's approach, especially for the time, is that he wasn't advocating for manipulation or trickery, which is something you sometimes see in the self-help space.
Yeah.
It was about genuine understanding of human psychology.
Yeah.
And he believed that, by appealing to these fundamental desires that people have, you can achieve more than trying to manipulate them.
Yeah, absolutely. And so what are these core drivers, right? What are the things that make people tick? According to Dale Carnegie.
Yeah.
Well, it kind of breaks it down to three main ones. So first is the desire to feel important and appreciated. So everyone wants to feel like they matter. Right? Second is the need to feel understood. Everyone wants to feel like someone gets them.
Right, yeah.
And then the third one is, let's face it, the ever-present question of what's in it for me, right? Self-interest.
Right, yeah, that's always there.
It's always there. So understanding these three things is kind of the foundation for everything else in the book.
Okay. So Carnegie breaks the book down into 4 parts, each of which explores a different set of techniques for interacting with people.
Right.
So let's start with part 1, which is called Fundamental Techniques in Handling People. And I think this is where we get some of the most essential advice from Carnegie.
Yeah, absolutely. This is the bedrock. And principle number 1 is honestly a difficult one for a lot of people, but it's so important. It's don't criticize, condemn, or complain.
That's a tall order.
It is.
Yeah.
But Carnegie makes a really compelling argument, right? Has criticizing someone ever really made them want to change?
It's true. It usually just makes them defensive.
Yeah, exactly. It puts them on the defensive and it just makes them resent you. It wounds their pride.
Yeah, it's like an attack on their ego.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So instead of criticizing, Carnegie suggests focusing on trying to understand why people do the things they do and encouraging positive behavior.
Right. And the second fundamental technique is give honest and sincere appreciation. And I think it's important to emphasize that he makes a really clear distinction between this and just empty flattery.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It's not about just throwing out compliments.
Right.
It's about recognizing genuine accomplishments, effort, positive qualities in people, and acknowledging them sincerely.
Right. So it's about being observant and noticing when someone has done something well or they have some kind of positive attribute.
Exactly. And that goes back to that first driver that we talked about, the desire to feel important and valued.
Right. And then when someone feels genuinely appreciated, it also motivates them to keep doing those things.
It creates a positive feedback loop.
Exactly. Okay, what's the third fundamental technique that Carnegie introduces?
So the third one is arouse in the other person an eager want. And this is all about understanding the other person's perspective and their needs and desires. It's not about just stating what you want. It's about framing your request in terms of what's in it for them, how it will benefit them.
Yeah.
So understanding their motivations and showing how helping you can actually help them as well.
Right, yeah. It's about finding that kind of overlap between your needs and their desires.
Exactly.
Okay, let's move on to part 2, which is called 6 Ways to Make People Like You. And this is the essential toolkit for building positive relationships.
It is. It's how to make friends and influence people 101.
Right. So what's the first way to make people like you?
Number 1 is become genuinely interested in other people. And Carnegie actually has this great quote about this. He says, you can make more friends in 2 months by becoming genuinely interested in other people than you can in 2 years by trying to get other people interested in you.
That's a really good quote.
It is, right. And it speaks to the power of focusing your attention outward.
Yeah, and I think this is about more than just like polite conversation.
Oh, for sure.
It's about really being curious about the other person.
Yeah, like truly wanting to learn about their experiences, their thoughts, their passions.
Yeah. Okay, what's a second way to make people like you?
Well, number 2 is so simple. It's smile.
Just smile.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, a genuine smile communicates so much, communicates warmth, friendliness.
Yeah.
And you're not even saying anything. It's just like an instant connection, you know?
Yeah, it puts people at ease.
Exactly.
Okay, so smile. What's number 3?
Number 3 is remember that a person's name is to that person the sweetest and most important sound in any language.
Oh, that's so true.
It might seem obvious, but like remembering someone's name and using it shows that you see them as an individual.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, I value you enough to remember this very personal thing about you.
And you're paying attention.
Yeah, exactly. It shows respect.
Yeah.
Okay, what's number 4?
Number 4 is be a good listener. Encourage others to talk about themselves. Well, that sounds easy enough.
It is, because honestly, most people love to talk about themselves.
Right. Yeah.
Carnegie points this out. People are way more interested in their own lives and their own experiences than they are in hearing about yours. So if you listen to them, you're making them feel important and understood.
Right. Yeah.
Which again goes back to those fundamental drivers we talked about.
Yeah. And I think this is about more than just waiting for your turn to speak.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It's about actively engaging with what the other person is saying, asking follow-up questions.
Really letting them be the star of the show, so to speak.
Exactly. What's number 5?
Number 5 is talk in terms of the other person's interests.
So find common ground.
Yeah, exactly. When you talk about things that they're genuinely interested in, you create this instant connection.
Right.
You're showing them that you've taken the time to learn what matters to them.
It's about making that effort.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. And what's the 6th and final way to make people like you?
Number 6 is make the other person feel important and do it sincerely.
Again, that sincerity part is really key.
It is, yeah. People can tell if you're being fake.
Yeah.
So this goes back to that fundamental desire to feel significant, right? To feel valued. So treat people with respect, acknowledge their contributions, and make them feel appreciated.
Right. You can't just pay lip service.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's move on to part 3, which is called How to Win People to Your Way of Thinking. And I think a lot of people consider this to be like the core of the book.
Yeah, it's where we get into the art of persuasion.
Yeah.
And the very first principle in this part is a bit counterintuitive, but it's so powerful. The only way to get the best of an argument is to avoid it.
Really. Avoid arguments.
Yeah, because think about it. Arguments rarely lead to anyone actually changing their mind.
True. Usually just end up digging in your heels.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And even if you win the argument, you might damage the relationship.
Right, yeah. So the cost of winning can be really high.
Exactly. So instead of arguing, Carnegie suggests focusing on understanding the other person's perspective.
Right. Okay, so what's the second principle?
It's show respect for the other person's opinions. Never say, you're wrong.
It's hard not to say that sometimes.
I know, right? But if you tell someone they're wrong, they immediately get defensive.
Yeah.
And then they're not going to listen to anything you have to say.
Yeah.
So instead, Carnegie suggests approaching disagreements with humility. Find common ground first before you address the differences.
Yeah, it's about softening your approach.
Yeah.
Okay, so what if you're the one who's wrong?
Well, Carnegie has a principle for that too. Principle number 3 is, if you are wrong, admit it quickly and emphatically.
It's hard to admit you're wrong.
I know, but Carnegie argues that owning up to your mistakes actually disarms the other person.
Really?
Yeah. It shows that you're humble, you have integrity,
Yeah.
and it encourages them to be more open-minded too. It can actually strengthen your credibility.
Interesting. So admitting your mistakes can make you seem more credible.
Exactly.
Okay, what's the next principle?
Number 4 is begin in a friendly way. Just like smiling can make people like you, starting a conversation in a friendly and positive way sets a more receptive tone.
Yeah, it's like you're creating a good first impression.
Exactly. It's about building goodwill.
What's principle number 5?
Number 5 is get the other person saying yes, yes immediately.
Okay. What does that mean?
So it's like starting with questions or statements that the other person will definitely agree with.
Oh, so you're getting them in the habit of saying yes.
Exactly. And then it makes them more likely to agree with you later on.
Interesting tactic. What's number 6?
Number 6 is let the other person do a great deal of the talking. This goes back to that listening thing, right?
Yeah.
When you let people talk, you're not only learning about their perspective, but you're also making them feel heard.
Right.
And when people feel heard, they're more likely to be receptive to your ideas.
Yeah, so sometimes the best way to win someone over is to actually listen more than you speak.
What's principle number 7?
It's let the other person feel that the idea is his or hers.
What does that mean?
So people are more invested in ideas that they feel like they came up with themselves, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So Carnegie suggests subtly guiding people towards your desired outcome.
Oh, so it's like you're planting a seed.
Exactly. And then they feel like they came up with it on their own.
That's clever.
Yeah, subtle art.
Okay, what's number 8?
Number 8 is try honestly to see things from the other person's point of view. This is empathy, right? Putting yourself in their shoes, trying to understand their perspective, their needs, their challenges. When you do that, you can communicate so much more effectively.
Right, because you can find common ground.
Exactly.
Okay, what's number 9?
Number 9 is be sympathetic to the other person's ideas and desires. Even if you don't agree with them, acknowledge their feelings and their aspirations.
Yeah.
It builds goodwill and makes them more open to hearing your perspective.
So even if you don't agree with their logic, you can still validate their emotions.
Exactly.
Okay, what's number 10?
Number 10 is appeal to the nobler motives.
What are nobler motives?
Well, Carnegie believed that, deep down, people want to see themselves as good and ethical.
Right, yeah.
So if you can frame your requests or arguments in a way that aligns with their values, you'll be more persuasive.
It's like appealing to their better nature.
Exactly.
What's number 11?
Number 11 is dramatize your ideas. Instead of just stating facts, make your ideas vivid, engaging, memorable.
So tell a story.
Yeah, use examples, visual aids, whatever you can do to bring your ideas to life.
Right, because facts and figures can be kind of dry.
Yeah, exactly. You want to capture people's imaginations.
Okay, and what's the 12th and final principle in this section?
Number 12 is throw down a challenge.
A challenge.
Yeah, for some people, competition is a huge motivator.
Oh, I see.
So if you present a challenge, it could be way more effective than just asking them to do something.
Right, because it taps into their desire to prove themselves.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's move on to the final part of the book, part 4, which is called Be a Leader, How to Change People Without Giving Offense or Arousing Resentment.
Right. So this is about leading in a way that builds people up rather than tearing them down.
Yeah, it's about being a good boss.
Exactly. And the first principle here is begin with praise and honest appreciation before criticism.
So lead with the positive.
Yeah, exactly. Start by acknowledging their strengths and their accomplishments.
Yeah, and then they'll be more receptive to hearing about areas where they can improve.
Exactly. It's about creating a positive and supportive environment.
Right. Okay, what's principle number 2 for being a good leader?
Number 2 is call attention to people's mistakes indirectly. So instead of pointing out errors directly, use subtle suggestions. Ask guiding questions.
Oh, so you're helping them see the mistake themselves?
Exactly. It's about preserving their dignity.
Right.
Nobody likes to be publicly humiliated.
Yeah. Okay, what's number 3?
Number 3 is talk about your own mistakes before criticizing the other person.
Lead by example.
Yeah. Show them that you're not perfect, that you make mistakes too.
Right.
It creates a more open and honest environment.
Yeah, you're showing vulnerability.
Exactly.
What's number 4?
Number 4
Yeah.
is ask questions instead of giving direct orders.
Oh, so instead of saying, do this, you say, what do you think about doing this?
Yeah, something like that. Asking questions encourages people to think for themselves.
Right.
Makes them feel more involved in the decision-making process.
Yeah, it empowers them.
Exactly.
Okay, what's number 5?
Number 5 is let the other person save face.
So even if someone messes up, you help them maintain their dignity.
Exactly. Even if someone makes a big mistake, find a way to help them preserve their self-respect.
Yeah.
Because you want to maintain a positive relationship.
Yeah, it's about being compassionate.
Exactly.
What's number 6?
Number 6 is praise the slightest improvement and praise every improvement.
So you're constantly encouraging them.
Yeah. Recognizing and reinforcing positive behavior, no matter how small, keeps people motivated.
Yeah, it shows that you're paying attention to their progress.
Exactly. It's all about positive reinforcement.
Okay, what's number 7?
Number 7 is Give the other person a fine reputation to live up to.
Okay, I like that one.
Yeah, so it's like if you express confidence in someone's abilities, they're more likely to rise to the occasion.
Right. You're setting a high bar for them.
Exactly. And people want to live up to expectations.
Yeah, you're giving them something to strive for.
Exactly.
What's number 8?
Number 8 is use encouragement. Make the fault seem easy to correct.
So you're basically like building their confidence.
Yeah, encouragement makes people feel like they can overcome any challenge.
Right. And if you make the mistake seem easy to fix, it's less daunting.
Exactly. It's about instilling a growth mindset.
Yeah.
Like, you can do this.
Okay. And what's the final principle of leadership, number 9?
Number 9 is make the other person happy about doing the thing you suggest.
So you're making it a win-win.
Yeah. Show them how your suggestion benefits them. Appeal to their values and their desires.
Right. And then they'll want to cooperate.
Exactly. It's about making sure everyone's needs are met.
That's great. So we've covered a lot of ground here today,
We have, yeah.
but I think the takeaway is that these principles are all interconnected, right?
Definitely. They all build on each other.
Yeah. And even though Carnegie wrote this book almost a century ago, a lot of this stuff still feels very relevant today.
Oh, absolutely. While the way we communicate might have changed with technology and stuff, the fundamental human needs and desires that Carnegie talks about are timeless.
Yeah, people still want to feel important, understood, and valued.
Exactly.
So for you, listener, as you go about your day, your week, think about these principles. Which one resonates with you the most?
Yeah, which one could you apply in your own life, your relationships, your work?
It's really something to think about.
It is.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive today. We'll see you next time.
See you later.